spell that he wants us to go over. So, John, real quick.
How about health to mana?
Health to mana.
So that's in the Soul School?
Yeah.
Soul tier 3.
Soul tier 3.
Okay.
All right.
So drain health, your own or others, to restore the target's mana.
All right. So first of all, the idea behind this spell is basically one thing that I kind of want to do mechanically to set P&P apart from other, D20 style games is instead of doing the whole Vancian magic where you have spell slots or whatever, you have a magic point pool. And another thing I want to do is instead of, you have to rest to get your magic back, you can restore your magic through other means.
Like stealing it from people.
Like stealing it from people. And soul magic is kind of where I would assume mana would be found. So, sort of the mechanic there, I guess, it would be sort of a draining spell, where you basically gesture at a target, and they have to make a save to resist. So let's see. First of all, mana...
Okay. So here's a question that I have: is health to mana. Now, if you are taking something's life force, does that something have to be sentient, or could you see a blue bird?
You could drain a blue bird theoretically. You wouldn't get anything out of it though. That is one balancing factor. I think the amount of mana you get out of it would be based on how much health something has.
So you could, if you saw a killer whale though, you could get a bunch of mana out of it.
Depending on that's one thing I got to figure out. First of all, is what sort of mechanic do you want to go with it. Now it is a 3rd tier spell, and one of the things we kind of one of the ways that we kind of divide the tiers up for Magic. And by the way, I'm assuming that everyone here is already familiar with kind of how the system works. If you don't know how it works, feel free to ask in chat. Falcon can catch you up to date because I'm kind of moving at the speed of my thoughts and don't want to kind of lose momentum trying to explain where I'm going. So anyway, the way that the magic tiers work, the first 2 tiers are sort of everyday use. These are the spells that 90% of users never go beyond because, most of the time they're just doing their job. And these are the spells used for doing your job. 3rd tier is more of the professional adventurers tier. That's where you start seeing the spells that guys who go out and, raid ancient tombs or, clear up disasters or whatever, those are the spells that they're using. And so health to mana falls into the tier of, this stuff is actually powerful because not everyone's using it, only people who need it are using it. So that being said, health to mana. So first of all, I'm just trying to think here mathematically. Alright, most characters are only going to have 6 hit dice, which means that on average, if we assume the average person has d6 hit die and doesn't have a maximized die, that's 21 hit points. So any spell that is going to target the average person is going to be doing 21, at most is going to have 21 hit points of damage to deal. The average mana pool tends to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 MP at the point where you can hit 3rd tier soul spells.
So we'll say 3d6.
Yeah, I was going to say 3d6 is probably a fair amount of damage to do.
Okay.
And actually at 3d6, that would honestly probably be a fair drain. Actually I would say you get half that mana back, half the damage you do back in mana.
So does that overcome the initial cost of the spell?
Ooh, that's actually a good point. So yeah,
spell costs
7 points. So yeah, you're right. I guess we would have to make it a direct conversion.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if your target doesn't have as much health as you drain, you just get however much health they had.
Now you can also, now the thing is, the way you have it written now, you can do damage to one target to put mana into another target.
Yeah.
So you could technically hurt yourself to put mana into someone else. Or
that was kind of the original idea. Is it gives the soul mage the ability to heal someone, but it costs him.
Yes.
It's the penultimate necromancer life tap ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blood magic.
Okay. So so what else do we need to figure out about this mechanic?
Well, the mechanical part is done, at least for a basic usage. And one thing that I kind of want to do with the magic system is spells are more general groupings of things you can do. The other part of it is, though, that you and Art need to come up with some fluff.
Okay, so here's a question. So the target can be anything that has health.
Yeah, that has a life force. I think
you
kill trees? I would say
Because
probably.
I like the idea that a necromancer can like slowly turn a forest dark by like draining the life out of it.
Yeah, like I would say probably like you could.
How many hit die or like how many health would a tree have?
Well, let's see.
Like if somebody wanted to punch down a tree.
That's actually what I'm trying to think about. All right.
Yeah.
If we go with the standard SRD damage tables, a great axe, which I would assume would be the closest in weighting to a woodman's axe, does a d12 of damage with each hit.
Mm-hmm.
So average over time is 6.5 HP of damage per swing.
And it takes like 20 swings to down a tree.
To down a big tree.
Yeah. So, so like a smaller tree though would still be 4 or 5 swings. So what I'm
But
hearing,
bear in mind also though that HP doesn't just represent health. It represents also like just your natural ability to not get killed.
yes.
So like, you know, a bullet doesn't necessarily hit you when it does HP damage. It just almost hits you and kind of depletes a little bit of your stamina that you have to evade with.
Oh really?
Yeah, well that's the idea ultimately of like an HP system is it's not just your character's physical toughness, it's also your character's ability to not die from things that should have killed them.
Or do you want to mirror what you're drawing on the second monitor? We can turn that toward people because it's really difficult. Like you're working on cool stuff and no one can see it. No.
I mean,
I
that
can't
gets
mirror
too
it.
busy, honestly, Joe.
Okay, I was gonna say there's a way to create a preview window in Illustrator and set that over here.
I mean,
Never
it
mind.
just gets the screen too busy.
Okay. So you get to target anything with life force, including a tree, potentially, what like. Now, if you wanted to punch through like a wall or like
A
those
wall
things
wouldn't
have
have-
HP, but they don't have life force.
Yeah. Like, I would say, honestly, a tree falls into the same category as a wall.
Really? Because trees are alive.
Yeah, but not in the same way that animals are alive.
Um,
Like, I would say that you're not draining necessarily the growth potential so much as you are the animus. You're draining the animating force, not not the living energy.
So what if a swordfish plant is attacking you?
I would say that counts as something you can drain.
So trees that are too lazy to attack you are not drainable.
Yeah, basically, it has to be something that can move.
It has to be something with ambition.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good way of phrasing it.
Okay.
So an animated tree then you could drain.
Must
Yeah,
have
Like,
ambition
what's
or
like Alice
moxie.
in Wonderland?
Because mana is really just moxie in our system.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good reason why you can't tap something that isn't moving around.
Because it doesn't have it. Okay.
Yeah.
No jazz hands for the boring trees. Okay. So, Mr. if we're good for here, or do you have? Well, if you ask targeted questions, we can answer them. But if you just say we need to do more, we don't know what you mean.
Okay, basically, the way that each spell is kind of structured is you have the mechanics, the various uses. So, for example, a spell where you can detect energy, you know, you have the use where you can detect energy, and you might have a secondary use that is reliant on something similar. Like you might have a spell that allows you to detect fire, but also could allow you to detect, say, the presence of a heat source. But the other part of it is the flavor text, because the flavor text opens up doorways of other uses that this spell might have. Because one of the things we want to do with the magic system in this system is to sort of encourage players to improvise new uses. Like, for example, when Brian did a test run, you can't see Brian, but he's off camera in this general direction,
Hi, guys.
he played a character who had access to the water spell Freeze. And Freeze has several set uses. But he asked the question, well, could I use Freeze's ability to freeze multiple targets to freeze individual water molecules around this one monster's foot? And it was like, well, by the flavor text, yeah. And by the other uses, yeah. So why not? And then he froze this monster's foot, and it basically led to the party being able to kill it.
So okay. So we need flavor. So like.
If you could pull up the spell thing.
This spell originated in triage tents during stupid outbreaks of in triage tents during minor struggle. This spell originated in triage tents as a way for doctors to take advantage of the life force of those who were totally gonna die anyway, to give themselves and their nurses the moxie required to keep the more deserving alive.
Moxie is spelled I-E with an I-E-J-O, not a Y.
I like spelling it with a Y.
But it's
okay.
wrong. Also, I think it's just one X.
Everything about you has no flair.
I thought it was. It is M-O-X-I-E. I can back this up.
No, I know it's right. I'm just saying it's not. It shouldn't be.
Yes, but
Okay.
it doesn't matter if it's a.
Okay. So yeah.
I don't.
Joe's the type.
So this spell originated in triage tents as a way for doctors to take advantage of the life force of those who were totally going to die anyway, to give themselves and their nurses the moxie required to keep the more deserving alive.
Yeah.
I feel like that's okay flavor text.
That's okay flavor text. We can workshop it later when the person who's actually funny isn't distracted.
Yeah. Or if you want to drive
I'm
these when we're
listening.
not. Yeah, but you're not talking.
Yeah, if you want to jump in, or
You guys aren't leaving me any moments to. I could be looking at the camera. I wouldn't have anything to say.
Okay. Okay, so number 29 is the next spell recommended for us to go through, and it was recommended by Mr. Stupid Pants.
That should be either fire or air.
It's not
It's not-
fire.
No, it's math magic.
Okay. Saved by the Bell. We actually,
I think he wants us to do some fluff for it, though.
okay, yeah, we actually did Saved by the Bell in our first episode as an example of, like, the mathematician school.
But I partially wanted this to be an exercise in getting you guys to actually write some freaking flavor text.
Okay, so bell curve. The caster alters the target's luck, forcing average results to become much more likely than extraordinarily good or bad ones. For a number of minutes equal to the caster's level, the target rolls 3d6 instead of 1d20 to determine the results of all checks. Add bonuses as normal and calculate results as normal. Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm having a hard time enunciating. It's more difficult for me to speak when I'm sobering up than when I'm drunk or when I'm sober, because I'm usually asleep while sobering up.
Would you like beer?
Yes, what kind?
Yingling?
Sure. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so spell 29, Saved by the Bell. There's kind of an element of the movie The Incredibles here, where there's like a need to created by some of the most average mathematicians ever alive.
Yes.
Jealous of who both despaired at the horrible fortune of some while being jealous of the good fortune of others. Do you have a fridge in your room?
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird, I
You
guess.
wouldn't let me have a fridge in my room. You yelled at me when I wanted to have a fridge in my room, and now you're impressed.
I'm impressed by Brian because he gave me a beer. How many beers were you going to put in your fridge, and how many of them were from me?
I guess we'll never know. You missed out on years of beers because you couldn't allow a refrigerator.
I know. Okay, so Saved by the Bell, designed,
Damn it, now I want a beer.
crafted, yeah, it's Monday night, beer time. Crafted by the most average.
Hey, Brian.
You want one too?
Why not?
Okay.
Crafted by the most average of math magicians. During a time of extreme,
Extraordinariness.
No, I was gonna say like extreme income disparity, or during a time of extreme magical
See,
disparity.
I honestly like the supervillain mathematician angle.
Crafted by the most average of math magicians.
During the first Obama administration.
No, because we don't have an Obama administration.
No wonder Jack's just hate for armor so much.
Yeah, crafted by the most average of math magicians. During a year with during a year with such extreme weather that the hail had D12 hit die.
Or did D12 of damage.
That hail was falling the size of because
Well, no. The thing is you wouldn't use this against hail because hail doesn't make attack rolls. That's a saving
okay,
throw.
well, I'm trying to think of something extreme that we can.
C's make degrees. They also pass most easy skill checks. Let's go with diploma.
Crafted by the most average of magicians who wanted to be sure he stayed in the middle of the class, where he was sure to graduate. He would be sure to graduate on time. On time. This spell is used by slackers.